If you are struggling to make friends in English, I really want you to consider a slightly uncomfortable truth today.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going with this.
Right. Like, it might not be your accent at all. It might not be your vocabulary. It might actually be because you sound exactly like a software update notification.
Yes. Flawless, grammatically perfect, and just entirely inhuman.
Exactly. And that is the ultimate trap. And it is really the whole mission of our deep dive today. We are exploring this really fascinating set of notes that perfectly captures the struggle of learning a new language.
It is such a good debate.
It really is. It revolves around two opposing philosophies from our sources, and we are going to personify them as Sam and Jess. And the core theme we are tearing into today is basically this idea that the biggest lie told to language learners is that perfect grammar leads to natural conversations.
It is a massive lie. I mean, honestly, it is completely counterintuitive to, everything you were taught in a traditional classroom environment.
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack this, because I am firmly on Sam's side of this debate. I think textbook English just completely strips all the personality right out of your communication.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. Like, you spend years memorizing conjugations, and you just end up sounding like a robot. I mean, if we want to establish a major rule right up front, I would call it the art of subtraction.
The art of subtraction, I like that.
Yeah, because fluency isn't about, the sheer number of words you know. It is really about the number of words you are confident enough to just leave out.
See, I have to step in and defend Jess's philosophy here. Because the counter-argument is incredibly compelling if you think about it. Correctness absolutely has its place.
I mean, sure, to an extent.
No, but really, you cannot just abandon all the rules and hope your vibe carries you through a complex interaction. If you do not have a baseline of correct grammar, you are going to be completely misunderstood.
Wow.
And for a language learner, that is deeply terrifying. Like, the anxiety is very real. So falling back on textbook rules is a totally necessary safety net.
I get that. I understand the anxiety. But let's take this out of the theoretical and put it right into, the most basic, everyday interaction you can possibly have.
Okay, lay it on me.
Ordering a morning coffee. So imagine Sam walking up to the counter. He has studied English for years, right? He looks at the barista and he says, "I would like to purchase one medium Americano. Please do not include dairy."
Okay, but what's fascinating here is the precision is undeniable. It leaves absolutely no room for error.
But the barista looks at him like he is a glitching motherboard. I mean, I would like to purchase. Think about that verb.
It is a strong verb.
It is a weird verb for coffee. You purchase a house. You purchase a car. You negotiate a purchase agreement. You do not purchase an Americano.
Fair point.
Why not just act like a real human being, drop the rigid syntax, and just say, medium black Americano, please?
Because you are speaking from the privilege of fluency.
Am I?
Yes. To an outsider looking in, that precision is a survival tactic. Just points out something really crucial in the notes here. He got his coffee, didn't he?
Well, yeah, eventually.
Right. The barista might have thought the phrasing was a bit stiff, but the communication was 100% successful. Simple and correct is always safer than trying to force casual slang that you do not fully grasp.
But look at the cost of that safety.
The cost is just temporary awkwardness, which is, much better than total miscommunication. Because if you try to walk into a coffee shop and throw out some highly localized casual phrasing just to sound cool,
Yeah.
and you get the pronunciation slightly wrong, or use it in the wrong context,
Yeah.
you do not just sound stiff, you sound completely foolish. You might walk out with a cup of hot milk instead of black coffee just because you try to be overly casual.
Okay, that is a fair warning, but if you speak purely like a textbook, you sound like an NPC.
You mean a non-player character in a video game?
Yes, exactly. Those characters that just stand in a town square and repeat the exact same formally scripted line every single time you walk past them.
Oh, like, greetings, traveler.
Yeah.
The weather is favorable today.
Yes. If you order your coffee like an NPC, you are basically signaling to the barista that you are just a transaction. There is no warmth. It is just like data transfer.
Data transfer versus a human connection. That distinction is critical because a data transfer is essentially just ones and zeros. It only cares about accuracy.
Exactly like a MIDI file in music, a conversation shouldn't be like that. It should be like a jazz performance.
Oh, I see where you're going.
It is about the rhythm, the slight mistakes, the pauses. If a jazz musician played perfectly on the beat every single time, it would sound like a computer program. The humanity is actually found in those slight imperfections.
I will concede that a transactional setting, like a coffee shop, can survive being a mere data transfer.
Hmm.
But you are highlighting a larger issue here.
Which is?
What happens when we move away from a barista and try to build an actual, long-term relationship? Let's talk about the workplace.
Oh, this is where the textbook absolutely ruins you.
Ruins you.
Yes. Imagine a Friday afternoon. You are packing up your desk, a colleague walks by, and they ask that classic small talk question, how was your week?
Ah, the quintessential casual check-in. It requires almost no actual information.
Right. But the textbook answer, the grammatically flawless software update answer is, my week was highly productive and quite satisfactory.
Oof. Yeah, that is incredibly dense. I mean, it halts the conversation immediately.
It totally does. And Sam's perspective on this from the source material is just brilliant. When you answer like that, you are actively building a wall between you and your coworker.
You really are.
You are practically asking them to file a performance report on your productivity.
Yeah.
It is completely clinical. Why not just drop the formality and say, busy, but we made it, how about yours?
See, I have to push back here. Jess highlights a massive risk with trying to sound that casual. You are assuming the other person who, might also be a non-native speaker, by the way, understands idioms.
True, but
What if they do not know what we made it means? Are they going to think you literally manufactured something in the office? The cognitive load you place on the listener can really backfire.
but satisfactory. Come on. That is a word for a washing machine review, not a human emotion.
Okay, beyond the vocabulary, Jess provides a really profound psychological insight here. If you try too hard to copy the casual phrasing of native speakers, you run the risk of adopting a persona that simply isn't yours.
What do you mean?
Well, if you are naturally a quiet, reserved, formal person in your native language, and suddenly you are throwing around phrases like, we made it, or what's good, it creates a totally different kind of awkwardness.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it feels deeply inauthentic. You're playing a character rather than just being yourself.
I completely disagree with the idea that formal language protects your authenticity, though. I think it is entirely about the underlying mechanism of trust.
Trust? How so?
Think about why formal language was invented in the first place. It was designed for legal contracts, diplomacy, and academia. These are situations where you absolutely cannot risk a misunderstanding because you fundamentally do not trust the other party.
Wow, that is a really fascinating way to frame it. Formal language is a defense mechanism.
Yes. So when you use that hyper-precise diplomatic language with a peer on a Friday afternoon, you are subconsciously signaling to them, I do not trust you enough to share a casual, vulnerable context.
Ah, right.
That is exactly why it kills the vibe. Casual language requires trust. It requires letting your guard down. People do not connect over flawless syntax. They connect over shared exhaustion on a Friday.
So you are arguing that emotional resonance is far more important than literal definition.
Without a doubt. When you say busy, but we made it, you are sighing. You are sharing a universal feeling of relief. When you say, my week was highly productive, you are literally a robot reciting a status update. Precision is actually the enemy of connection in that moment.
Okay, so if we accept that precision can push people away in a work setting, how does this apply when the stakes are even higher?
Like what?
Say, moving from office small talk to actually making social plans.
Oh man, this is the absolute minefield of language learning. Making plans introduces a whole new layer of linguistic panic.
It really does.
Just listen to this hyper-formal dinner invitation from the notes. Imagine you are trying to make a friend and you walk up to someone and ask, would you like to accompany me to dinner tonight?
It sounds like a subpoena.
It sounds exactly like you are escorting them to a court trial. Accompany me. It is terrifying. Who would say yes to that?
Nobody.
You are going to be sitting across from each other in a dimly lit restaurant taking notes on their behavior. Sam's approach is the ultra-casual opposite. He says, you should just ask, down for some food later.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, here is where Jess's philosophy is absolutely vital. Down for food. Think about the literal translation nightmare you are creating for a learner there.
Is it really that bad?
If you encounter that phrase for the first time, your brain goes straight to physical directions. Down. We're talking about gravity.
Gravity.
Yeah. Are we descending into a basement to eat? Are we laying on the floor?
Okay, that is definitely overthinking it.
It is not overthinking it if your brain is constantly translating. Jess argues that clarity absolutely must win over the vibe when making plans. If you try too hard to be relaxed, you completely ruin the precision of the logistics.
I guess so.
The listener is spending so much mental energy trying to decode down for food that the casual, friendly moment is completely lost in confusion.
Okay, But there is a brilliant middle ground solution in the source material, though. You do not have to sound like a lawyer issuing a subpoena, and you do not have to sound like a teenager using confusing slang. You just say, "Do you want to grab dinner?"
I can accept grab dinner as a functional compromise.
Yep.
It is highly common. But you have to acknowledge the immense psychological hurdle it takes for a learner to use a word like that.
Really? Grab.
To a learner, grab is a terrifying verb. You grab a physical object. You grab someone's arm. If I tell a stranger, "Let's grab a coffee," my inner translation machine is flashing red warning signs saying, "You are using this verb wrong." They're going to think you want to commit theft.
Oh my gosh, that is the classroom trauma speaking.
Yeah.
Learners desperately avoid simple verbs like grab or get or have. They actively run away from them.
Because they spent 10 years in an educational system that punished them for it.
Precisely. They spent a decade sitting at a desk being graded on their vocabulary. There is this invisible teacher standing over their shoulder at all times.
Always with the red pen.
Yeah, so they are constantly hunting their brain for fancy multisyllabic words like consume or accompany or purchase because they want to sound smart. They want an A+ in the conversation.
Right.
But here's the reality check. You do not need to sound smart to make friends. You just need to sound human. And humans say grab. We grab coffee. We grab dinner. We grab a seat.
That is a really stark realization. The educational system rewards complexity and nuance, but real-life social interaction rewards accessibility and ease. Nobody wants to have a beer with a walking thesaurus.
No one. It is exhausting for both people.
Which brings us to a much broader mechanical question about communication. We have established that grab is accessible and that simplifying your vocabulary helps you connect. But how do we maintain this human connection when we are not the ones speaking? Like what happens when we are just listening and reacting to a story?
This might actually be the most draining part of speaking a second language. The inner monologue. The invisible struggle that the other person cannot even see.
The frantic translation machine just running constantly in the background.
Yes, you're sitting there listening to your new friend tell this emotional story about their weekend, and instead of actually listening and empathizing, you are in your own head, frantically constructing your reaction into a perfectly structured, grammatically flawless sentence.
Checking all the boxes.
You are checking the subject, the verb, the object, making sure the tense is correct, worrying about the preposition.
And by the time you have constructed this masterpiece of a sentence and mentally verified it against all known grammar rules, the conversation has moved on by 3 minutes.
Exactly.
That's good.
You missed the moment entirely. The window for connection closed while you were doing mental gymnastics.
So what's the alternative?
Sam's method for this is a total game changer. He advocates for ditching the full sentences completely. Just stop trying to craft a paragraph in your head. Just use simple, natural, instant reactions.
Oh, nice. No way. Really? That's crazy.
I understand the utility of that, but Jess finds this approach a little bit lazy.
Lazy.
Yeah. If you have spent years studying the intricate mechanics of a language, just grunting, "Oh, nice," feels like you are cheating. It feels like a failure to utilize all those tools you worked so hard to acquire.
But it gets the job done. It keeps the rhythm of the jazz performance going.
It does keep the rhythm going, and even Jess admits that it absolutely beats sounding like a Siri update.
Because if you sit there in silence, computing your perfect response, and then suddenly deliver a stiff, robotic, overly formal sentence, you completely derail the flow. If you cannot engage in relaxed, effortless small talk because it feels like intense labor, you will never unlock those deeper, meaningful conversations.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because nobody wants to do the heavy lifting for you.
That is harsh, but true.
If talking to you feels like hard work, if every interaction is dense and formal, they are going to find someone easier to talk to. The small talk is the gateway to the deep talk. If the gateway is blocked by mental exhaustion and hyper-precision, nobody is walking through it to get to the good stuff.
That brings us right back to your opening premise, the art of subtraction. Sounding natural isn't about adding more complex structures to your vocabulary. It is actually about trusting that the context, your facial expressions, and your tone of voice will carry the meaning.
Yes, exactly.
You are communicating with your entire presence rather than relying entirely on the strict dictionary definitions of the words you use.
You are communicating with your face, your timing, the sigh you let out when you say "we made it." The grammar is just one small piece of the puzzle. When you say, "my week was highly productive," your rigid adherence to the rules is completely masking whatever human emotion you might actually be feeling.
It really is the difference between writing an email and having a conversation. The core mistake learners make is applying written, formal rules to a spoken, casual medium. The two domains simply do not translate.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? If you are tired of feeling disconnected, if you are tired of feeling like you are operating behind a pane of glass when you speak English, the goal isn't to burn your grammar books entirely.
No, definitely not.
Obviously, you still need to know how the language structurally functions.
We are certainly not advocating that you speak in a complete gibberish and just hope your friendly tone covers it up.
Right. But you have to fundamentally shift your mindset. You have to move away from the goal of perfect translation and aim instead for human connection. You have to give yourself permission to use the simple words.
Use them generously.
Let yourself say grab instead of accompany. Let yourself react with a quick no way instead of a meticulously planned 10-word sentence. You have to actively silence that invisible teacher grading you in your head.
This raises an important question, though. What is the actual reality of mastering a language? Do we have to accept that being slightly messily awkward is the only true way to become fluent?
I think we do.
Because if you are always playing it safe with textbook correctness, if you are always terrified of looking foolish, you never stumble into the natural rhythm of how people actually speak.
You have to be willing to be a little messy. You have to risk someone wondering if you mean gravity when you say down for food.
It is a terrifying prospect for someone who relies on rules for safety.
It is terrifying, but the alternative is so much worse. You do not want to be the software update. Nobody invites the software update to dinner. Nobody asks the software update how its week was.
They just click remind me later.
Exactly. They click remind me later, and they move on with their lives. So don't let yourself get clicked away. Step out of that textbook comfort zone in your next conversation. Stop trying to be a perfectly functioning machine and allow yourself to be a slightly awkward, fully present human.